Hey everyone, Moms Against Medical Bullying. Super bright out today. Let me move back in the shade. Oh, there we go. So I'm not. Oh, let me. So I wanted to talk about Italy. I was gonna read a bit, but I'm reading chapter 11 in Dr. Charles Creighton's book, Gender and Vaccination. And this is on Italy, and things got wild in Italy. What I'm feeling about the whole vaccine thing is that it was a cash cow. Everybody wanted in on this. So the old inoculators were getting booted out. This was a new thing, and if they didn't jump on the bandwagon, they were going to get left behind. And they didn't want to get left behind because they wanted part in the business. So I'm just going to read a little bit about what went on in Italy. The main player there around the 1801 was Dr. Luigi Sacco, Sacco. And it says, Dr. Luigi Sacco, the most extensive vaccinator in the world, was one of of those enterprising young practitioners, rather common in all countries, who promptly seized upon the novelty as a handy means to reach fame and fortune. He was from Milan. His appearance in Milan in 1801 with a stock of vaccine lymph in his possession is wrapped in obscurity. He already lived in Milan for a time and had been awarded a medal by the Patriotic Society of that city for a paper on new way of preserving insects. The medical journal, which introduced his first vaccination book to English readers in 1802, spoke of him as a medical man of great eminence in Italy. It was vaccination that made his fortune, and it was he that made the fortune of vaccination on the other side of the Alps. So this was a business. People don't realize that. People think vaccination, was some nice thing that people did for free. What world are they living in? Jenner's cowpox notions had been made known to Italian readers a few months before in the translation of the Inquiry by Carino of Vienna. A few vaccinations had also been tried at Genoa in April 1800 by Dr. Scassi with lymph sent from the Geneva stock. Let's see here. So a dealer of Cremona told him that he had at that moment resting in a neighboring meadow a drove of 40 cows, they told the Sacco guy, which had come down from the Swiss mountain pastures. Sacco picked off some of the crusts and kept them. If you really let that sit in. They're taking the crust off the cow's ulcerations. It's gross. But, 2 cows in that herd were pointed out with red spots on the teats and udders, which the animals would hardly allow to be touched because, it was infected, so it's probably sore. Anyways, let's get to some juicy parts here. It was saying that Sacco was the first one to make a drawing, or a plate, as they call it, of the cowpox. Even before, Jenner didn't even do that. And so I think in this time they were still having confusion as to which cow pus was spontaneous and which one was the real one. And so apparently, the that's ridiculous. They said the cows that were just standing at the market who got spontaneous cowpox. It wasn't the real cowpox. Jenner said the market cow sort was spontaneous. Let me see. Cows also got cowpox when they were being kept standing within a full udder, with udder full, that the pimples, cracks, or other common ailments would arise out of which cowpox ulcers might be induced through the rough manipulation of the teats by the milkers and might be conveyed by them to other cows. So I guess they're saying there's different ways for the cow to have cowpox. And only if they got it this one way, then that was the real kind. Also, at one point, Sacco began to use the sheep to inoculate or vaccinate, whatever you call it, kids, I should say, kids. He just started vaccinating everything that walked. It says wolves, bears, apes, mice, rabbits. Let's see here. In the course of his vaccination journey, Sacco founded in 1804 among sheep near Capua, and again in October 1806 near Monte Miscoso. On the later occasion, he cowpoxed several sheep. So then oh lordy, so he did it to the sheep. Then they developed vaccine vesicles and resisted the variolous test, which was tried upon them soon after, nor did they catch the contagion from the tainted part of the flock. So he's saying that he vaccinated the sheep with cow pus, and they didn't get sheep pox. Creighton says the protective power of cowpox against the smallpox of sheep is a delusion which has been confessed with brutal frankness by those whose pockets are concerned. It took some time to arrive at the truth of the case, but as soon as the truth was apprehended, the sensible, practical step of ceasing to vaccinate for sheeppox was taken. The following is the authoritative summary by Dr. William Budd in 1863. Dr. William Budd says against ovine, which is sheep, smallpox, vaccination offers no specific protection. But then this is what this guy starts to say. Well, this is the guy who, it wasn't Sacco who did the inoculating with the sheeppox. It was this guy, Dr. William Budd, 1863. He says, no, you can't vaccinate sheep. It doesn't protect from sheep smallpox. It has been proved by experiments on an enormous scale performed under every condition to ensure accuracy that vaccinated sheep, when afterwards exposed to the infection of clavelle, take the disease in a large proportion in a natural way. Dr. Budd adds that this correct vesicle in man, raised by cowpox lymph from the sheep, protects the human being from smallpox. Let me back up. This is all the more remarkable that sheep, when vaccinated, develop the same vaccine vesicle as man does, and that lymph taken from the vaccine vesicle of a sheep produces the correct vesicle in man. Dr. Budd adds this correct vesicle in man, raised by cowpox lymph from the sheep, protects the human being from smallpox, although its original and exact counterpart in the sheep gave no protection from ovine smallpox. Oh my goodness, how crazy. So he's like, yeah, it doesn't work for the sheep. They can't be protected from the sheep's smallpox. But if we vaccinate the sheep and then the vesicle that the sheep gets, that will protect a man from smallpox. And the man gets, oh my goodness. I just can't believe the way that these men thought, the way these people think. Like, they just did any old thing. It's so confusing when reading all this too, because it's not like black and white. They did a lot of stuff. They messed around with a lot of pus. It was a pus party. Let's see here. Now let's go back to Sacco. He obtained some matter from the ulcerous sores on a horse's hocks. He gives a startling picture of huge excavated horse sores in his Trattato of 1809, and therewith inoculated several children at the Foundling Hospital of Milan. Orphans, I bet. He found that the effects were very like of those of cowpox virus, and on trying the children with the variolas test, he found that they were protected just as they had been cowpox. I mean, oh my God, guys. Jesus. So we got, okay, first we have confusion with regular cowpox, right? Oh, no. The cowpox has to have the cowpox for a certain reason on their udders, and then that can protect people. Okay. Then they go on to say, oh, if you vaccinate sheep, then the vesicle from that sheep will protect people from smallpox. It just is making my stomach turn. It's so disgusting. And now they're saying from the infected hoof of a horse, put that in children. They did this all to children. I mean, makes me sick. Accordingly, in a letter Jenner dated on the 25th of March, 1803, he admitted that it was quite certain that the grease causes the vaccine, and he suggested that one might by and by change the latter name to equine, because Jenner was messing around with that idea too. Let's see here. What else did these crazy mad scientists do? The matter in use at Vienna from 1799 to 1825 was partly British vaccine and partly originated from the grease of a horse at Milan without the intervention of the cow. I mean, these guys probably know what the hell they were putting into kids. The effect was so similar in every respect that they were soon mixed. So now they didn't know what was. The cow pus and the horse pus was all mixed together. That is to say, after several generations and in the hands of innumerable practitioners, it was impossible to distinguish what was the vaccine and what was from the horse. See, they didn't care. It's just all mixed up. We don't know what we're putting in you. We don't care. That's just like what. It's so confusing because they didn't just stick with one thing. They were just testing out everything. Sacco's enormous number of vaccinations in the first few months amounted to a real propaganda. The introduction of cowpoxing into Italy was a sudden dash on the part of a hitherto unknown person with talents suited to the business, who saw his opportunity and was prompt to seize it. Yep. So what they did was that they vaccinated these kids, and then they would have them back, and they would have all these other men come in this room with these kids, while these kids were variolated with fresh smallpox pus. And interestingly enough, I had heard that Jenner vaccinated his own son, and his own son was sickly. But in this account, in this book, he says something different. He says, Jenner did vaccinate his own child on April 12th, 1796. Robert F. Jenner, aged 11 months old, after he vaccinated several, but as often happened in the first trials, he did not take. Shortly after, okay, so yes, he did vaccinate his son with the cowpus several times, but according to him, it didn't take. So shortly after, when Jenner was living at Cheltenham, a medical friend came into the house and, taking the child in his arms, he said pleasantly that he had just left a family who had smallpox. And, sir, cried Jenner, you know not what you are doing. That child is not protected. So Jenner thought, had vaccinated the child, but didn't believe that the child was protected because he said it didn't take. So he was freaking out. The boy was thereupon inoculated. So what Jenner did was just inoculated him with smallpox, but not with cowpox. He was inoculated with smallpox. So this visit to Cheltenham seems to have been in the autumn and winter of 1798 to 99, when Jenner had no better stock of vaccine than the matter from the Stonehouse Dairy, which had produced alarming ulcerations, both in his own trials of it and in the trials by two of the Stroud surgeons. So their local dairy, the cow pus from there, was producing really bad ulcerations, like it says. That was not the sort of lymph which Jenner would care to use upon his own son. And it was not until February 1799 that Woodville provided him once for all with a stock which he could use. But this is how he explains the incident of using smallpox matter on his child. Where did he get that smallpox matter? That's my question. And this was interesting here. This video is getting too long. Jenner and his friends were demanding the statutory prohibition of smallpox inoculation as early as 1802. So they wanted to ban the actual smallpox inoculation in 1802. Now, if he was going for that, I can see why, the old inoculators, the guys who were already in the game doing the inoculations, jumped on board, even though maybe they didn't even agree. So that's all for now. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of information. I'm going on to chapter 12 now. But it's a lot to take in because there's a lot of names, a lot of dates, a lot of confusion because they're using a lot of different things on these people. So which one was it, guys? It makes me think they only tell one story if you read about it on the CDC website, say. I could be wrong, though. They probably have documented somewhere that they were using sheeppox and all that stuff. But, I mean, it's all about business, and it's all about getting the glory,